Welcome back to Imperial Wealth's Crypto Chronicle podcast, where we're recording a history book of all the events that have happened in the cryptocurrency industry. We're going to be reporting to you on a weekly basis, so let's head live over to our team right now to discuss all things that have happened in cryptocurrency this week.
G'day everyone, and welcome back to the 20th of February edition of the Crypto Chronicle podcast. You have Mitchell and Taylor here. G'day Taylor.
What's going on, mate?
How are you?
Oh, yeah. Love of life.
Yeah, getting there?
Bitcoin's at 50K.
Yeah.
Can't be not happy, you know what I mean?
Yeah, when there's always a 5 in front of it, it's always a lot better than when there's a 4 or a 3 or a 2 or a
Very
1
much.
that we had at one stage. But it hasn't been too big of a week in terms of probably price action on Bitcoin as such, or really much news in the market. Obviously, over the weekend and yesterday and today-ish, there's been the George Washington public holiday, so stock market's been closed, so it's been a bit quieter, given across Saturday, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday. So if you're wondering why it's been a bit stale, that's probably why. So it's all back in action tonight and tomorrow. I do believe futures is open for stock markets today as opposed to yesterday, and it looks a bit uglier. So we're seeing a tiny little pullback on Bitcoin. Not too phased, but everything's looking good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Small pullback. Come on.
Yeah. Come on. Just baby pullbacks.
Yeah.
But
Healthy.
yeah, in bull markets, even in the most raging secular bull markets, you know, the idea is pump, retrace, slingshot. So
What? We went from 60-odd thousand back down to 40
yeah.
in the bull run, and then went back up to 69.
Yeah, exactly. So, yeah, I did present that notion exactly in last week's Chronicle, or the Chronicle before, with the 786 retracement. I spoke about that on the podcast and presented it in charts. And the idea there that I was trying to show was those pullbacks are so ridiculous that you think they're never going to happen, and they happen in a bull market, where you'll see, you know, a negative 25% crash in 3 days, and then within 4 weeks we're back above plus 50%. But anyways, we'll get into the fundamental discussion and rundown, starting off with our favorite topic, the ETF. This is just a flow on kind of from what we were talking about with Cathie Wood, and how we were discussing the article notion that she was presenting that Bitcoin as digital gold will replace gold, particularly in a lot of portfolios, traditional finance portfolios. And really an article I'm going to include in the Chronicle just talks about how we've seen 2.4 billion outflow of gold ETFs in 2024, you know, whilst the Bitcoin ETFs are reaching record volumes, which probably should, you know, paint a pretty clear picture as to kind of what's occurring right now. You know, that's pretty substantial for gold and very contrasting with Bitcoin, isn't it? So,
but if you're obviously looking to reallocate funds, where would you take it from? Like, gold makes perfect sense, being the performance has been relatively lackluster.
Yeah.
So it makes sense.
Yeah, well, I think the kind of option here is you're trying to hedge against inflation. Do you want the hedge that kind of just remains stable, and you're okay with parking yourself in something that remains its value as a store of value? Or do you want Bitcoin store of value, which, yes, is highly volatile compared to gold, but, you know, may in 10 years as a store of value be worth 50 times what it's worth now. So I think that's what investors alike need to weigh up when they're kind of, you know, weighing it up. But, you know, I'm not entirely sold that, you know, people are just selling their gold ETF and getting into Bitcoin. You know, we've seen the US dollar rise this year, et cetera, et cetera. So there's a number of reasons why. But anyways, it's still pretty stark. And, you know, maybe we'll see this trend. I think it'll be an interesting trend to see over the next 12 months as opposed to the first month.
Yeah, I was going to say, like, we're going to see some very clear lines to start with, but I don't think it's an accurate representation of what's going to happen over the long term. So it's just something that you'll probably have to draw a conclusion on closer to 12 to 24 months, really.
Yeah, for sure. Alrighty, moving on to staked Ether has reached a total of 85 billion. So that's actually 25% of the total circulating supply, which is
crazy.
Which is good. It's bullish signs, really. Heading into the Denken upgrade in March, I believe.
Worst name ever.
Yeah.
Worst name.
As I said, shout out to Denken from CoinStash. But I mentioned all of this. I mentioned all of this last week, but, you know, there's almost close to 1 million validators now. And, you know, there was a bullish trend of about 600,000 Ether entering the Ethereum 2.0 staking contracts. So, this coincided with yearly highs. There's no surprise. Right there, I have written 2,800, and this morning I think probably the yearly high ended up at 2,995 or so, or did it reach 3,000? Just
not that I saw.
Just
not on Coinbase.
Yeah, a little bit of a front run there. So maybe it was a bit high on perp exchanges, but as we know, they lead. But yeah, it's just shy of 3,000, which still is the highest price it's been since probably November of 21. Yeah, because I think I spoke about last week how it was the highest price since December of 21. So let's just call it December or November. But very bullish catalysts coming across for Ethereum that we spoke about in the last 2 weeks that we'll speak about more when we get to the technical section. But yeah, it's really good to see for those ETH holders and for those that are ETH maxis, because we know obviously ETH leads the altcoin market.
Yeah.
And once again, I'm going to touch on this a lot more in the technical section to help those that are kind of at home slightly FOMOing or sidelined or think they're missed the boat already. Not the case, but we'll dive into that a bit later. Moving on to a more hilarious kind of article. Well, I found it hilarious writing it. Was the major banks in the US are seeking the SEC approval for inclusion in the Bitcoin ETF market. What's your thoughts here, Taylor? It's pretty funny, isn't it?
Because it's just literally like they've put high heels on and everyone else is using runners.
Yeah.
Like, you look like an idiot and you're also way slower.
Yeah, and it's just, they want to fight it and call it a disease and say it's this and that until they realize they can make money on it.
Well, it's as soon as everyone goes, we're going to have it, and they go, oh, geez, actually, if we don't have this, we're going to go broke here.
Yeah, so essentially what's happened is they've sent a letter to the SEC chair, Gary Gensler, our great man Gary, and essentially it was a coalition of trade groups highlighting that the absence of US banks has been left as approved asset custodians for, the recently sanctioned spot Bitcoin ETF. So, it's just all pretty funny, really, because, as I said, one day they hate us, one day they want to be us. So
I just love it, right?
It's the same
as custodians.
Yeah, it's the exact same trend as Larry Fink. I think in one of the earliest Chronicles where we were discussing ETFs, I showed the side by side of Larry Fink's 2019 vision of Bitcoin versus his 2023 one. And they're pretty stark differences, and I'm guessing the banks by 2026, 2027 might have a different idea on Bitcoin.
Who the hell wants to put their bloody crypto or even their Bitcoin in the bank?
Well, like, I did see another Australian influential figure in the market, I won't say names, mention that banks are required for crypto. I don't think I agreed with him.
Who is this idiot?
I'm not going to say names, but anyways, I found a highly interesting take he had talking about how he thinks that banks require, and we need to get on board with the banks, and we need to put our crypto in banks. I don't think he understood what FTX was. I don't think he understands what bank runs are. Anyways.
He'd be the same person that goes, yeah, you know what? Donkeys are the most important thing to the cocoa trade. Just because they transport it to and from. That's as good as a bank is. Like, come on.
Yeah. Well, look, we won't deep dive into maybe the ignorance behind that, but it's an interesting take and one I wholeheartedly don't agree with. And I don't think Satoshi would probably agree with that either. It kind of eliminates the
I don't think 90%
central entity peer-to-peer,
goes against everything.
Anyways, we can discuss that later. But
God, that hurts my brain.
Look, the greatest Chad in the market is Michael Saylor, and MicroStrategy. It's actually, if you're in this market and you've been on Twitter and you've been a part of the news cycle, that's the crypto news cycle, and Michael Saylor was the laughing stock for 2 years, and now he will go down. I guarantee you, if Bitcoin does what all of us think it does, he will go down as the single-handed greatest investor of all time. Yeah. Not even talking one of and the best the best investor of all time, because he was the only institution globally that dedicated his entire company to becoming a Bitcoin development company and going, balls deep into Bitcoin at the highs, at the mid-range, at the lows.
He was 100% what gave me a ton of confidence buying Bitcoin at like 18, 17K. Because when he was doing it, I was like, if he's doing it, there's got to be a reason. You know what I mean?
And, I think his average buy was, it's 29, 30,000. I think I was reading his unrealized profit is close to 10 billion, I think. But anyways, I've done an article that I'll include here. But obviously, you can get an inclusion in the S&P 500, obviously, if you become part of the 500 biggest companies in the States. There's obviously a strict criteria of market capitalization, but MicroStrategy is currently 535th as the largest publicly listed US company now.
That actually is a massive. Like, I thought he'd be bigger than that. I'm not going to lie.
Yeah, no. Well, it just goes to how big the US is and how big the stock market really is.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
But to join the S&P 500, you need to create a minimum market cap of 15.8 billion. So yeah, they currently hold 190,000 Bitcoin, and they've gained over 4 billion now. I think it might be higher now, but I'll have to do the maths on that just to recheck. But pretty stark, and we're talking about this at 50k Bitcoin. Yeah, it's if we, and when I say if, I'm talking about in 10 years, if Bitcoin's $1 million per coin, he's got 190,000 now. Let's just say a flat 250,000. He's got close to over 1% of the supply. Is that the correct math? Yeah. He's doing pretty well, Chad Saylor. So, anyways, good on him. But I was going to say, he was the laughing stock, and now everyone's writing articles on how good he is, and it's just a classic. But
typical, right?
An article I included that I wrote this morning that I found quite funny was there's an Australian police officer that's allegedly involved in the theft of 81 Bitcoin during a little raid. So.
Do you call that a little raid now? That's a big raid, isn't it?
Yeah. Well, it was actually a couple of years ago when 2019 when Bitcoin was. So I will read the stats. He stole 81 Bitcoin in 2019. That was 300 grand. It's now worth 4.2 million at today's prices. But essentially what happened is the NACC, which is the National Anti-Corruption Commission, has accused a federal police officer, William Wheatley, of erasing data from a Trezor wallet with 81.62 Bitcoin during a drug raid. So Sergeant Dion suspects that Wheatley, after finding the device with the wallet seed phrase, stole it and, sent it obviously somewhere. But then what happened is later when they were searching the house, they found the seed phrase and they're like, oh, what's happened? Like, there's a seed phrase in the wallet. Oh, we just saw the transaction got sent out when we raided the house. But I think that's what happened. They've been able to trace the Trezor wallet, saying, okay, we raided the house. Then on that day when we raided the house, someone's found the wallet, sent Bitcoin.
Almost got away with it.
Yeah, well, he's claiming his innocence, and it's going to be an interesting trial. So I'll keep people updated because
it's actually quite an interesting case for precedent. Because tracing it down is of interest to everyone, I guess. Yeah.
Well, I think they have very good tracing software now that they can. Anyways, I'm not.
4 years is a long time to trace it.
Yeah. Maybe we'll ask our cybersecurity expert.
Yeah, actually, we could maybe do that. Exactly right, yeah.
Anyways, our technical analysis section we'll move on to. Bitcoin is kind of continuing to consolidate here at weekly resistance of 52,000. Now, as I've said, across the last week, there isn't too much. I actually cannot remember where we were last week. Do you remember where we were priced at? 50,000. Oh, were we?
Wasn't it?
Has it been that big? I don't know.
Let me have a look.
This last week has been mental. I'll look as well.
Nah, we're at 50s.
Yeah, that's what I thought. Yeah,
they're pretty much exactly where we are today. Yeah.
Well, there you go. Yeah, that's what I thought. You scared me for a bit. I was like, huh?
I thought
maybe it had a $5,000 rise in the last week.
It just feels like it was last week, but it was probably like
time's
a bit further back, like maybe 2 weeks.
Yeah. The 13th, I reckon we pumped on that. The day after is the exact day we pumped.
Yeah.
So we're at 50,000 last on the 13th. On the 14th, we pumped from as low as 49,200 to as high as 52,000 in a single daily candle. So it was literally the day after.
Greatest day ever.
I hope there were a few bulls that got a bit of confidence out of that podcast and did a few cheeky trades, but you'd be well up on them now.
They would be.
So yeah, at the moment, really, now that we pumped from then 50 to 52,000, 52,000 represents our first weekly resistance. That's really important to us, that which is just above our major gone pocket that we obviously retraced, I think negative 22% from. The ETL flows helped balance this out. We've ranged back up. But don't get too worried that we're failing to break resistance here. If we are in a true secular bull market, usually what happens is you consolidate resistance, alts play catch up, you've seen ETH play catch up, seen all these different altcoins play catch up as Bitcoin trades sideways, goes down, goes back up, stays the same, blah, 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 blah. And then usually this leads to expansion, whether that's to, the downside or the upside. I'm obviously favoring the upside right now. But yeah, I guess to kind of summarize in this last week, that's pretty much what it's been. It's just been Bitcoin trading sideways since we pumped on that 14th. I think ETH, we were probably speaking about it last week, it was at 2,700. It's now, as we mentioned earlier, got as high as 3,000 almost this morning.
Yep.
Me and Taylor, obviously last week, and I think the week before, spoke at length about our thesis on Ethereum and how the Bitcoin ETF was heavily front run from October to January 12, in that it pumped from 25 to as high as almost 50,000, so it almost doubled in price in 3 months. We've got exactly 3 months now until both 2 months until the halving, 3 months until the ETH ETF. So we've pretty much got the exact same setup here. So if you think Bitcoin and the market's going to continue higher, you assume that thereafter there's an alt season thereafter that coincides with potentially the approval of an ETH ETF, as we've been speaking about it. One would probably make a safe assumption that ETH gets front run too, just maybe. And I think we're beginning to see that a little bit, to be honest. Because
definitely the shoe fits.
Because what happens usually most cycles, and I've gone back and I've looked at this and I've been a part of it, is Solana comes along, your L2s come along, OP, blah, blah. Everyone always, every single cycle talks about how ETH is dead and Solana's going to flip it, and as in Solana's the example of this cycle, but prior cycles, different ones, and blah, blah. And ETH always has a way of reminding everyone who's king very, very fast and very, very swiftly. So I think, as we discussed last week, like, it's just going to be one morning we're going to wake up and it's pumped $500, so $1,000, and everyone gets reminded very swiftly as to who is the king of DeFi. And why it is the number one cryptocurrency outside of Bitcoin, and why it has been pretty much for, since 2017, I guess, or 2016. But yeah, honestly, at the moment, my read on the market is alts are getting a good go here. And it's important for me to tell listeners out there, if you've been listening to us the last few weeks and you're going, shit, like they told us about ETH last week and they mentioned ARB a while ago, and I've been wanting to join the Trading Academy, but I think I've missed out. It's too late. You're still early. In the last cycle, when Bitcoin, reached its previous ETH of 20,000 in December of 2020, December the market. So yeah, essentially when it hits ETH, Bitcoin, the altcoin market cap was 60% below its previous cycle. At the moment, we're about 50% exactly. So I think the altcoin market's at 550 billion right now. Total, last cycle, the total market cap, was 1.1 billion. So to even catch up to last cycle's prices, and remember each cycle, the cycle is bigger than the last, we're only 50% of the way. So you think, I'm too late. We're not even halfway to where we got to last cycle. And then take into account that this cycle will then be, you can assume, double, triple as big, because that's what's happened versus prior cycles. 2017 cycle was 300 billion or 400 billion. Next cycle was 1.1 trillion. Let's just say 2 trillion. So 25% of the way there. That's how, if you want to call it, that's how early we are. And then when BTC went to, hit peak all-time highs, there was 266 days after of an alt season. So I'm talking about the high that it reached in that 60,000 high. Then we had that retracement, and then it went back up just slightly higher and made a new ETH. Between that retracement and that peak, there was 266 days. So
it's a short run.
Well, it's short, but what I'm trying to say is we are not even at A when Bitcoin puts in that high.
Yeah.
And so 266 days, whilst it's short, is, let's just call it 75% of a year, 3/4 of a year.
Yeah.
So you've got until April, let's call it the start of 2025 to really make some money, and you're not late. And, we've been killing it in the Trading Academy recently. One buy, we bought a big gaming coin last week. That's almost doubled in a week.
Yeah.
Like, we've literally bought Casper. I'll happily say it. We bought Casper on spot, near New Year's, just for those that weren't mining it. Pretty much almost doubled as well.
More than that, yeah.
So, we're buying things now that are doubling within a week, and people would be sitting there saying, I've missed out.
There's so much time left.
There's so much time left, and there's so much money to be made still. I don't actually think people quite understand fully what an alt season is.
But also the thing that's, even from a service side of it, it's funny how many people come and their expectation is to make 100, 200%.
Yeah.
And they're like, if I can make that in 2 weeks, I'm happy.
Oh, yeah.
But it's just no. we're in this to make, 2,000-3,000%, because at the end of the day, that's where you're going to get generational money, not just the quick, yeah, man, I made $1,000 last week.
Exactly.
Awesome.
And yeah, so I think if there's anyone out there listening and this is you and you're sitting there going, fuck, this is me, reach out to us because it's not too late.
At the end of the day, it's a pretty small price to pay to have, like, for me personally, like the way that I describe it when it comes to it and like to my mates is as much as the buys are awesome, it's the additional insight you get is where you make your money.
Yeah. And so, for instance, a very easy example is you as a listener out there might be sitting there and you might have gone, shit, I didn't actually just know that information. He told me that after the first peak in 2021 that we had 266 days. Oh, I had no idea. I thought it just stopped at the first. But, stuff like that, you get insights to this. We're here to guide you. We're here to tell you what we're doing. We've been doing this since 2015, 2016. If you're new in the last year, you probably want to be guided by experienced, right people who have been through the cycles and, have been psychologically through them as well, because they're not easy. No. And, the funniest thing is about crypto is everyone thinks the hardest thing is to buy. The hardest thing is to sell and to sell at the right time, because the majority of the people of the last cycle, they bought at the right time. They got all the gains. They didn't sell.
Yeah, they just held.
And they're still holding their bags from the last cycle. So if that's something that, you're maybe struggling with, you don't know targets inside, you might be scared. Okay, I've actually bought some stuff, but I'm not prepared to know when to sell it. And I need the macro updates. I need the market analyses. That's the service for you. But anyways, enough on the Trading Academy in the alt season. Day traders have been absolutely murdering BingX in the last week. We signed a new affiliate program with BingX, so us day traders have been on there trading stonks. We've got a nice Tesla long at the moment that's printing. Danny, Bobby, Luke, all those guys have been printing on GMX and Phantom longs. Luke's been absolutely killing Cass.
Mate,
Cassie's little bitch.
Cass is his best friend.
Yeah. So shout out to those guys who continue to turn up and day trade. But yeah, if this is once again maybe something that suits you a bit more, the easiest way for me to describe the differences is that in the Trading Academy, HODL will sell later in the year, 2025, 2026, whatever it shapes up to be. Day trading is not as such that we're trading day to day every day. It's like we're more so trading swing positions on coins that we might hold on spot that they're getting cute with. We'll sell at resistance, we'll read long at support, blah, blah. Anyways, we're using that to compound our money to then get more spot, put them in DeFi positions, grab more miners, etc., etc. It all ties in. Please watch our masterclass videos on these if you don't fully understand, because they're fantastic and explain it all. But yeah, if you want to get in contact about either of those services, just hit up Taylor in the Discord and he will run you through it.
Exactly right.
The mining update. Give it to us.
There isn't much.
There isn't much?
No, it's we're in that period that we spoke about last week where it's that constant rush to the halving. And it's because,
difficulty rise?
Yeah, hash rate, difficulty, it's all commensurate, you know what I mean? And at the end of the day, it does push price, you know what I mean? So everyone's rushing into it, which is pretty normal. It's exactly what we saw last time around pre-halving. It's that 2 month, 3 month out from the halving, everyone's going, oh my God, my miner from 5 years ago is profitable. I should stick it back online and make 50 cents a day.
Yeah.
Which it's just part of it. It's all old facilities buying it, because like at the moment, particularly the brand new stock is very limited.
Yeah.
And so all of that secondhand stock that was maybe, $500 to $1,000 is now desirable because they can just get hash rate on really quickly and they can just stick it in some Siberian mining farm that's on 1 cent power.
Yeah.
So it's just that rush into it, which is pretty normal. So if you're a miner and you're seeing that, and there's been few that have reached out and gone, oh my God, I've added miners, and it's still mining the same that I was about 6 to 8 months ago, or whatever it is. And yeah, you're right. It's unfortunate, but it's just the nature of the game. Yeah. Think of it as a guaranteed sort of style of investment that the price is guaranteed almost to go up, because cost of production can't go higher than the cost of the good. Basically, economics has to stay firm there.
Yeah. And yeah, for those, the easiest way to describe it to a newbie is that price follows difficulty.
Yeah. Pretty much.
Or vice versa.
Line up the charts and take a look. It definitely lines up.
Yeah. Around the grounds?
Around the grounds is all pretty similar. You know what I mean? Everyone's sort of very commensurate. Everyone's, price has gone up, 5-10% in the last last week or two. Difficulties followed suit, which is pretty much normal. The only thing that's really blown everyone out of the water and shocked, to be honest, like I still can't figure out what the hell's going on. CKP Nervos. Gone up like 100% in the past week, but it's gone up about 300 to 400% in the past month.
Yeah.
And on the back of that, difficulty is dropping. Like, riddle me that. So it's only a small one, like only 10%. It's not a huge network.
TRB job.
Yeah, it could be close. Yeah.
Because as I said, you see these old coins that everyone forgets about, and all these whales go, all right, let's get on MEXE and blah, 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 and there's going to be, X amount of shorts on them, and we'll just spot buy and blow the price up huge, and then we'll sell and dump on everyone. So it could be that. Just be careful, but maybe something we look into a bit more. But
it's
I don't know too much about CKB, so...
Yeah, it's similar to TRB in that.
I think Andrew likes CKB, does he? He's got a couple of miners. Andrew from day trading? Maybe not.
No, not Andrew. No, there's... A few clients do, but not Andrew.
Oh, okay, I thought he did. Sorry, Andrew, if you're listening.
No, like K7s have not been overly popular because, to be honest, there's not many around. They're quite rare, which is awesome now. If you picked one up at 4 or 5K and now they're making $40 a day, perfect. Yeah. So, yeah, kudos to you for grabbing one. And, like, to be honest, they've been doing well. So it's good on that front. But other than that, it's all pretty stock standard. There's not a huge amount of change. The only thing that's worth noting to those miners that are listening is that you've probably heard me say it before, but it's 100% becoming a fact. We had a meeting this morning with Bitmain, and getting stock is going to be a mad struggle. Leading into sort of March, April, May, there's only future buys. And so it just means that you're going to park funds for a month to wait for the miners to come out in 2 months. So it's just, sooner is better than later. The last thing you want to be doing is buying something and waiting for it to come on post-halving. So... the age-old story I've been telling everyone for the last 2-3 months is make sure you reach out, because at the end of the day, if you miss the boat, you miss the boat. You can't do anything about it. Plan.
Exactly.
Be proactive, not reactive.
Which is always the case in the crypto market.
Yeah, exactly.
All makes very interesting rest of the week, I think, with stocks opening up tomorrow. Obviously, Bitcoin's at major resistance. We're seeing ethanol pump. So I think by the time we speak next Tuesday, Mr. Taylor, we'll be speaking about a lot of interesting topics, I feel. So thank you, everyone, for listening. We'll speak to you next week, I guess, and let's hope that we have another glorious week. And what did I say before? We left at 50,000 last. Let's add another 2,000 on for next week's podcast. Hopefully we're between 54 and 57,000. I'll show the weekly resistance and 786 target for all you bullers that I hope we end up at. But thank you, everyone, and we'll speak to you next week.
Easy done. Speak then, guys.